Good morning,
Skipping
small
around.
Amazonian. How we doing?
You know, I've been called that before a handful of
Of course.
times. Amazonian, Amazon woman.
Yeah.
I'm big, okay? I'm a big
Own it.
person.
Badge of honor. Welcome to Monday
Is
morning.
Monday. I won't do it.
Dude, thank you. Spare me. Spare me. Morning,
Spare
Christopher.
me.
All right,
Hi,
so
Christopher.
first, like, I probably got 1,000 rants, and I don't want to go into it until you've had a first.
No, honestly, I don't have anything.
Really,
I
nothing.
had a very uneventful weekend.
That's it.
I did, yeah. Like I
Nothing.
just nothing of interest.
Okay. Did you watch any football yesterday?
Well, football was on, so I probably fell asleep through one game, and then did laundry through another game. I wouldn't say I watched it. It was on. The boys were watching it. I was just there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Such a girl thing to say.
I know. To me, like, I don't know what it is about football in particular. Really, most sports, there is so much white noise. Have you ever noticed that?
I run a fan over
Oh my
here
gosh, yeah.
for the noise.
The sound of the crowd and the sound of even the commentator's voice sometimes, like sports on TV, not so much in person, but on TV, to me, has so much white noise that it's like instant sedative. I just can't.
All right, let's dissect that a little bit.
Okay.
So let's figure out the origins of civilization and what role that plays and why it's so important to our everyday lives.
The white noise or the sports?
No, just go with me.
Okay.
I'm gonna build on this. Just kind of go with it.
Okay.
All right. So do you know the game Minesweeper?
I don't think so. It sounds familiar.
So it's basically a grid, and you click on the different tiles, and it tells you if there's a mine near you, and you click on it, and it explodes you or not.
It's like an old computer game.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So Minesweeper was a game. Do you know what its purpose was?
I don't remember it much, so not really.
Okay. So this thing right here was a foreign tool. Everybody knows what this is now, what it does, and everybody's super comfortable using it.
Anybody who's not watching on camera, he's holding a computer mouse.
A mouse, right?
Yes.
And the problem was everybody was a 60-year-old at the time that Minesweeper came out. They were pushing it, and they were like, sort of like a Neanderthal with a piece of fire, like, right? And so they're grunting about the mouse. What are you doing with this object, this tool?
That's exactly how it was.
I don't use that.
What is this thing?
So Microsoft created a game that you needed to be able to have sort of like eye-hand coordination and develop a skill to be able to use this to interface with tapping in the screen. So they created a grid pattern, created a game out of it. It taught a bunch of old people how to get used to create neurological pathways to be able to click on the mouse and it interact with the screen. So you thought you were playing a game, and Microsoft was teaching you how to use the thing.
That's
right?
nice.
Yes, right.
Educational game.
Right. So all of education should be fun ways, trickery ways, mysterious ways of teaching you some kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
By use of something that you wanted to do anyway. Use something that you want to do and couple it with something you need to learn how to do, right?
Yeah.
Just part of our civilization.
I would say
always
most games are engaging the mind, thinking.
Exactly. And,
movement.
now we're in an era where we have mindless games that aren't really teaching anything. It's just a way of like subduing people and, making them, docile, right?
Yeah.
But everything should teach something. So let's go to the Colosseum. What was the purpose of the Colosseum? Let's even go before the Colosseum.
Okay.
Let's just talk about your village, right?
Your village.
In the village, you had a bunch of weak people and you had a bunch of strong people. And the strong people played a really important role in your village. They had to go out and kill things and defend your city. And they might not be smart. They might not be putting equations on the whiteboard.
They were brutes.
They were brutes and they were necessary.
Yeah.
So what did they do? While there wasn't a war going on, we had to develop the skills of the brutes. So what did we do? We created games. Games where you take all the fighting tools, everything that they would be doing on the battlefield, and create a game that while they were learning and competing in the game, they were developing the skills of war. So when it came to it, like they might be flipping a telephone pole in the middle of a plane.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they were developing a skill of strength. They were competing against other warriors, and they were getting ready for battle through competitions and games.
Feats of strength.
Right. So the Olympics came along in Greece, right?
Yeah.
And so we took all of our fiercest warriors and we created games that would help them develop more skills and compete against one another for who was the strongest warrior. And we made, really important people out of who dominated those games. And the games themselves were a teaching tool and sort of like a way of showing off your skills as a warrior, so on and so forth. So what happened this weekend, and again, building.
It's all going somewhere.
Jamar Chase, right? He
Okay.
is plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. He
Bengals.
walked up to another warrior, right? A person who was defending against them, and spit on him. He spat on the other person that was defending against what he would be doing, which is catching passes.
Oh my
and scoring touchdowns.
God.
And now the talk of today is whether or not he's going to be fined or suspended for spitting on another
This
warrior.
isn't the I did see a fight. Wasn't it a Steeler that grabbed someone's face mask? Is this a different fight?
Different. Well, no, a Steelers-Cincinnati game is a different fight.
Okay.
Okay, but let's frame it correctly. These are our warriors. These are the people we looked up to defend us when they're just talents, just gushing with talent, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you want a warrior who fights and spits and trips and punches and is fierce, or do you want a feminized version of that? Maybe comes out in a tutu, maybe has stockings on, maybe plays nice and said please and thank you. What are we doing here? Spitting on an opponent? Think of Coliseum. What if the guy came out and he was fighting a tiger, right?
Yeah.
He picked up his sword, and all of the audience are like, this dude is going to conquer a tiger that doesn't play by the rules. And he's going to stab the tiger and conquer him, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, Tiger, you're a jerk face. And the audience is aghast. He was mean to the tiger. We've taken a tool where we celebrate the fierceness of our warriors, and we feminize them to a point where they can't even be mean to their opposition. Where have we come?
Wait a minute. Are you saying spitting is the meanness?
It's the meanness. Yeah. He's supposed to be fierce and mean and cruel and psychologically like bullying to the person that's fighting against him. He's not supposed to be nice to him.
Are you excusing the spitting?
No, I am encouraging the spitting. I'm
Ew.
encouraging the tripping, the spitting, the poking in the eyes, the pulling down of the pants and embarrassing.
Okay, then where does sportsmanship come in?
Well, that's a negotiation between two people. Like when we're going at head to head, we negotiate how we're the terms of the.
I mean, I
the
kind
deal.
of feel like it's been negotiated.
All right,
in the
so
NFL.
in the Wild West, you got two people who are we meet at noon, and we're gonna draw our weapons, and we're gonna shoot each other. Right? We're gonna negotiate how this is gonna go down. Do we want some cheating to go on? No, we want it to be a fair fight.
Yeah, be a man.
Yeah, right.
Have
So
some dignity.
If you play dirty, can I play dirty? If you play clean,
you have to.
When it comes to noblemen or gentlemen, we have a code of ethics that we stand by. When you watch a football game, is there a bunch of code of ethics? Have you ever listened to a mic'd up?
Like a little bit here and there.
Mic'd up, what they say to each other, how they
Yeah.
get in each other's head, what they do to each other. Like it's a game that you play psychologically with the person that's the warrior that's in front of you. It has decorum, right?
Yeah, I still think there is a bit of a code of ethics.
Is there?
I think that there is the expectation of some decorum, some sportsmanship. That's why you are penalized for going outside of that. You grab a face mask, you throw a punch, you spit on someone, you whatever, unnecessary roughness. It's all penalized because you are expected to have a bit of a respectable
on the field. Everybody in the stadium, everybody in the news cycle loves the drama of there not being decorum. So we're not going to talk about.
I will admit, like I said, I don't watch football yet. I knew about a fight.
100%
because that's what I'm into.
The Coliseum wasn't about the people that were in the Coliseum. It was the people that were watching the Coliseum. The entertainment value of it meant that you had to play a part. You had to be the warrior that was willing to poke you in the eye, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody would talk about that for the next week until the next Coliseum
Probably
meeting.
why like professional wrestling is so popular when everybody knows it's not even real wrestling.
Right.
It's
All right.
the
So
drama.
here's a really good example. Have you ever heard of chess boxing?
I saw on 60 Minutes last
Chess
night.
boxing.
I almost reached out to you and was like, watch 60 Minutes, chess boxing. But I missed it.
Okay. So you're in the Coliseum and you're almost snoozing because everything that's on there is just all noblemen following rules, and they're not doing anything dirty. They're not even really trying to win. And they have the warrior that's willing to like play a little dirty to be able to fight the battle, right?
Yeah.
Chess is really boring. I love chess, but I would never watch chess. I
God,
don't watch chess. Nobody would watch chess ever.
No.
Right? But they're like, how do we get people to watch chess? How about this? Let's have people fight each other for a couple minutes and then go play chess. And we're going to sneak chess in. We're going to sneak the intellectual in by giving the Coliseum the blood sport that they're so desiring.
And does the intellectual side suffer after the physical blows to the head?
Or
From
do we
boxing.
put somebody who's better at the boxing or better at the chess? Is there an advantage where we put a really dumb guy that can box really well against someone who's smart but will get knocked out in the first 30 seconds? It adds a dynamic, that blood sport that we are so thirsty for, and it creates something that's worth watching.
So because I missed the 60 Minutes special, is that what it is?
It's real. It's real.
Well, I saw it coming up, but like, how is it played? Is it like fight, sit down, fight, sit down?
Yes.
Like so many minutes of fighting plus so many minutes of chess.
Yeah, you couple something that are juxtaposed, like they are complete opposite, and you got to pick your strength. You got to pick a big sword, right, versus a small sword. You got to have a big guy versus a nimble guy. It's the same stuff that we would have like, you want the small 5'4" guy with the samurai sword, versus the guy that's 6'4", 300 pounds and has a broadsword, and either could win. So
we could put like you and Kelly Pavlik together for chess boxing.
Yes.
Who do you think would win?
And that's the thing. It becomes a coin flip because now you've equalized the decorum on the field, which given the advantage of the intellectual over the brute, and everybody's attracted, right?
But here's
what
the
if
thing.
the intellectual beats the brute, or what if the brute beats the intellectual?
I still think the brute has a better chance of winning.
Could.
Because all he has to do is physically take you out. Game over. You can't play chess.
That's what's exciting for the fans is if you take the warrior and the tiger and you put the warrior in handcuffs, right? You've equalized it, and now you want to see it. You don't want somebody to just dominate. You want the guy that's really is a defensive back. He's really good at defending against passes.
Yeah.
Right? You want him to doubt himself when he gets disrespected by somebody spitting on him as an equalizer between now he's doubting himself, he was disrespected, and now instead of being able to defend the pass with everything that he's learned, now somebody's in his head, right, thinking his friends are going to be like, hey, he spit at you. You're a little bitch, right? And now instead of just defending the pass, now he's defending the personality. Now it's equalized it and made a warrior versus warrior, and it changed the dynamic.
See, to me, the spitting would almost knock that person down a few pegs. Respectable.
With who?
Wise.
The fans or the person that's defending the passes?
With me.
If you can get a person that is really good at defending passes to think about anything else other than defending passes, that's an advantage.
I guess. The spitting just seems like you've got nothing else. Like, you're not strong enough. You're not nimble enough. You're not better than this person.
That's such a girl perspective.
Oh, my God. What?
Perspective.
Because it's true and it makes sense?
In a warrior's mind, if the game is 50% psychological and 50% physical, and you can't do much more about the physical than what you appeared to with the weaponry of choice and the armor that you chose and your physique, and then you can take a 1% advantage in the psychological, you take it.
Now you're giving the spitter credit saying, oh, he's so smart. He used this to his advantage to get in the head of his opponent. Yes. When really it could just be, I have nothing else to do and I'm going to spit on you.
We're talking theoretical here. I'm giving the guy benefit of the doubt that he was a warrior on the playing field and he got an advantage by getting in the head of his opponent.
And I'm not giving him the benefit of that doubt.
Good strategy. I know, but you fell asleep during the game. So I'm not looking for insight from someone who's snoozing.
You didn't even see it.
I know.
So what other sports would you Would you do that juxtaposition with boxing and chess? What are other things that we could like combine? I don't know what I could combine, but you know what I was extremely impressed with recently?
What?
I have no idea how one does synchronized swimming. That sounds kind of lame. No, honest to God, like just last week, I saw this synchronized swimming team. They came out and they did a routine to a Michael Jackson song. And I was just like, how is that even physically possible? How are they even bobbing in the water at all, let alone synchronized and moving synchronized and that is the most fascinating activity I've ever seen.
All right. So the Germans start invading the East Coast, right? And then you have to pick your warriors. You got to sample from sports who exhibit the brutality necessary to fighting against the Germans. Synchronized swimming isn't even on the radar. Like put itself in a practical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
A skill that was learned of synchronizing movements in the water. Would you pick them for absolutely anything in a wartime setting?
I think it's a good mental game. Are they strong? Maybe not. Are they as forceful? Maybe not. I think they can be cunning. I think they can think.
Put them in a scenario, a wartime scenario, and where you'd pick the synchronized swimmers to defend your honor and be the warriors that they are. You're going to struggle with this.
It would be mental. It would be a mental game, and it would be a stamina game. May not be brute, may not be forceful, may not be hard and fast, but I think they would have stamina and the mental capacity to do something.
What?
Focus.
Give me a warring German army, and when you would be like, I know who I'm picking. Let's go to the synchronized swimming team, and they are our defenders. Give me the utility in learning that skill.
They could probably be the ones that are, this is not the right word, but like the undercover, the secret, the infiltrators, the trick them into thinking something, go among them, be the undercover ones that gather intel. That's what they would be.
Synchronized swimmers are going to be your best.
Why not?
I can think of sports.
They have to be perfectly calculating. They have to be patient.
Okay.
They have to have stamina. They have to remain calm, cool, and collected under pressure. Literally underwater, unable to breathe, and you cannot panic. And you've got to stay there, and you've got to be willing to still focus on everything else going on around you and the people around you.
So, okay, you're the one that's being attacked by a single person. You're like, hey, this assassin's coming after you. You can pick Navy SEAL or a synchronized swimmer.
Listen, it depends on how.
Pick.
Are you talking about physically running at you?
Listen, I'm going to say one of these two characters are going to defend your honor, and you're either going to die or live based on who you select, right? And I'm going to go to the synchronized swimmer and say, I got to sell you on this. Synchronized swimmer, they can calibrate their movements, and they could be manipulative when it comes to them and the water.
The long game.
Who are you picking?
Listen, if it's a brute charging straight at me in the moment now, obviously I want another
Navy
brute.
SEAL.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what if you would pick the Navy SEAL in the warrior training, right? Who are you pick? What scenario are you going to say, oh no, definitely not the Navy SEAL. I'm going to synchronized swimmer. What situation?
If I need an undercover. Somebody
who's
who's clearly not a brute
person than the synchronized swimmer.
I didn't say there's no better, but you're asking me to figure out what a synchronized swimmer could do.
Of a career where you've developed the talent, you should be chosen because how exemplary you are in that talent.
This is so biased.
Why?
You're using a fight and war scenario with war soldiers or synchronized swimmers.
I set it up. The games were about developing the skill of warfare.
Obviously, the soldier in a fight is going to be better than a synchronized swimmer athlete in a fight.
Give me the scenario where the synchronized swimmer, non-war, it could be anything. And you're not going to pick the developed Navy SEAL versus the synchronized swimmer.
I think in a situation that you need to be discreet. I think if you've got to be cunning, discreet.
I'm still
fly
picking
under
the
the
CIA
radar.
operator over the synchronized swimmer.
Depending on what it is. Depending on what it is.
You just have to. The challenge is pick one scenario.
All right.
Where that's your
Let's
dude.
say
It's so developed.
Let's say you're in the FBI.
Yes.
There's a big target, organization, person, man you're trying to take down.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need some intel. I need someone to go in undercover. I need someone to be mic'd up and get them talking. Is it a beautiful, slender, elegant woman that goes in and serves him drinks and gets him talking? Or is it a big, muscular brute of a man that walks in and gets him talking?
Well, we've deviated from them being a synchronized swimmer, right? You've picked a profile of affection, attraction, right? And you can have that. They don't
synchronized
have to,
swimming.
So you're
Versus a big
I
brute.
I could think of one.
Okay.
Let's just say your Mark, right, is a big fan of synchronized swimming. Then you being a synchronized swimmer gets you close enough to them. And that's it. They're not really good at anything that has utility.
I'm not saying they are the best option in any of these scenarios, but if I have to somehow make it work.
If we make the pursuit like an archer, right? You're really good at hitting a target. I can think of 1,000 ways to pick somebody who's at the top of their game in archery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Synchronized swimming is not that. Now, even chess, somebody who is able to like think 6-dimensionally, right? I'm picking them when it comes to something that doesn't require a brute, but a high thinker, somebody who can look further down the line and plan moves, right? But synchronized swimming has no actual utility.
There's maybe no actual utility, but I bet you it is far more difficult to learn and master than a lot of other things.
Fine. It's a challenge. It's just not useful. It's not a useful challenge. Whereas again,
I never said it was a useful challenge.
I did all of the games, right? From Minesweeper to the Olympics to the Coliseum was developing people for something of utility. And then we deviated and we started creating games that weren't developing any kind of skill set. It was just a mind-numbing thing that we did for its entertainment value. So that was my whole point.
Well, I think entertainment isn't without use or
how many synchronized swimming events have you like, did you see the synchronized swimmers are coming to Hubbard Pool, right?
Yeah.
It's not even entertainment. So it's not
I wouldn't go out of my way to see it.
You would not watch a synchronized swimming. You have appreciation that someone's doing something hard.
Yes.
But there are other hard things that you can do that actually have either utility or entertainment value. That's the point.
I'm incredibly impressed and in awe at the ability and talent. Other than that, I don't really care.
Okay,
I'm not going to go see it.
Fascinating to watch someone take a stone and slide it over the ice and have some scrubber come along and change its movement on the ice to go in at some kind of target.
I wouldn't.
Bocce might actually have an origin story. Because I can see
people here like bocce.
I can see like if you had training where you were taking an explosive device and you were rolling it into a certain area with accuracy, you can use a game that see who can get closest to the mark as possible. I can see there being a utility in that, but those other sports are just dumb, non-utility sports.
How about the game Twister?
Oh, that's just to get a hookup. Like there's nothing other than that to get.
You're like, I'm gonna reach
some
over
70s
here.
hippies invented a game to allow my crotch to get near your crotch for a reason, and then laugh about it and have fun. It's
Sorry,
just a fun
that was
game.
the last yellow spot. I had to reach over there.
Was effective because we had the baby booms happen because of that.
You know what was always so fun in gym class?
What?
When we played with the parachute. You remember that?
Yeah.
You think that had any utility in it?
What was it teaching you? What skill? How have you furthered that in?
I don't know, but it sure was fun.
Mm-hmm.
You had to work together. You had to work with other people. It was something large you couldn't control on your own. You had to learn how to coordinate to get something done.
Mm-hmm. Think of all like once you're inside that parachute, how many germs are just now contained.
My God.
It could have been like an immune system development thing where the man was trying to get everybody exposure to all the same bacteria and germs. So,
like when we were kids, did your parents ever make you go play with another kid that had chicken pox?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, my whole street had chicken pox together.
You got chicken pox? Guys, we're going to go play with Tommy.
Yeah. Dad's
Get
like,
it
hey,
over
you
with.
ever thought of tongue kissing Betty down the road.
Oh, that's how you do it?
Yeah, go do some tongue kissing, and then do some makeout session, get your chicken pox. Like it's a win for everybody.
Please tell me you're kidding. That he didn't actually say that to you.
I'm not saying anything. Like it's a good story.
It's a good story.
Go tongue kiss Missy.
So messed up.
Patricia said, I learned how to use a mouse playing solitaire, another game where you learned how to get your right hand or your left hand to calibrate with your thoughts of where you wanted movements. And you're really good at it now because of those.
I've never played solitaire. I don't know how to play. It has always seemed very boring to me. I never had any desire to learn. One's like, I'm just going to sit here and mind-numbingly play cards. I'm like, I could go do like anything else.
Okay. And Christopher says real men play rugby. And that is
rugby.
But I do see like every one of our sports are going to be feminized to the point that we're not going to be able to say these are warriors in training. These are a bunch of, like really neutered men that are playing a total. You remember like when men of noble blood would dress very feminine and they would be above the peasantry, right? That's where we're going to end up, where everybody's going to have wigs and wearing tights and barely having a ball sack at all.
Have you yet watched any of The Chosen?
Yeah.
The series of Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So the portrayal of is it Pontius Pilate? Isn't he so feminine?
Yes.
Like you think he's gay?
Yeah.
And you're like,
right.
Does his wife know he's gay?
But today, right now, we're in today's version of that. And when we always do that, and then there's going to be a pendulum swing back in the other direction where masculinity will be in favor when it comes to security and threats, because that's the job of men, is to be protectors and be strong and grunt a lot. And women are the nurturers that make society, keep the fabric of society together. And that little cooperation between those two is a great homeostasis for the sexes.
Do you see any value though in a somewhat role reversal? Now, I'm not talking about to the extent of like completely switching sides, but value in a man having a little bit of that caring nature to him, especially when dealing with other women or children, or a woman like female boxing and fighting, and a woman maybe having a little bit more of that masculinity. Do you see any value in sort of the transition to the opposite side?
Evolution is guided by necessity. So the more threats there are, the more men have to act like men. And when there are no threats and you have comfort, you have apathy, and then you have this gender doesn't have any kind of evolutionary advantage. And so that you have the feminization of men because they're not necessary. They don't get to practice what their biology is telling them they should be good at, and they become very feminized. And then something like the world, the earth and its history means that there are things that are out of your control that then all of a sudden make it necessary for men to act like men. And then all of a sudden they break out of their biological controls, societal biological controls, and then they go act like men. And then women constrain and bring men back into the middle, and they end up to be feminized again. And it's a natural pairing. It's sort of like when men have the engineering, they create eugenics. When nature has controls, they create biological and evolutionary advantage. And we don't have any choice in that one. That one's a messier version of it.
I almost think that when you're in these stereotypical roles, you're a bit more powerful. I mean, like I've mentioned before on here, the example of like Helen of Troy and the power that came with somebody who was feminine, but it's not a necessity that
creates that power. Like when there's no need for the power that you create, you don't get power because it's a commodity. And it's great to elevate people of stature that can do the thing that has utility in order to formulate power. But we're in a sort of like an inauthentic version of that, where we create power out of things that like point at a person and find out why they're famous or why they have power, control, and money. And then looking at them saying they're not the best of us. How did they get in power control? Because we're in this feminized homeostasis where everybody's the same and we don't have standouts. We don't have low. Everybody's just the same. So in utopia, the same is terrible, right? Homogenization is completely terrible when it comes to that.
Well, we elevate people in this day and age who are not better out of humor sometimes.
Right.
Like,
Because we're bored.
yeah, like with William Hung on American Idol years ago, or the Haktua girl. Like, you take something idiotic and they become successful, and we elevate them out of pure humor and just being ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why there will always be another crusade, because when you ever see that thing like weak men cause hard times require strong men, strong men create good times create weak men, and it's a circle that goes along. That's the origin of it, and that's what we will always follow that template.
We ebb and flow based on
100%.
necessity.
So we're just in an era where we're creating more weak men, which then the threat of a bad thing happening goes up because we have a bunch of weak men doing things.
This is kind of like what we're seeing with Hegseth in the military.
Right.
We had gotten to a point that the military had all these different backstops. Like, I remember my brother-in-law telling me one time when he was in, and this was years ago, they had, what were they called? Like stress cards. Like, he made someone like just drop and do some push-ups, and the kid's like, nope, I'm going to go take a nap. Could hand in a stress card and leave for the day. And he's like, what? Do you think when you're overseas being shot at, you can be like, time out. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go take a nap, And it's like they were getting more and more out of shape. They were dropping the standards, even as far as how they present themselves and how they look. And then all of a sudden, this administration comes along and it's like, hey, enough of this BS. Like, we got to go back to being lean, mean, enormous killing machines that don't get easily stressed out, that can handle anything. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's so ridiculous and so mean. And it's like, pendulum's got to go the other way now.
Let's just create a game that grabs and takes your strength away from you. Let's train you into being weaker, right? And that's what that does. If you have a training regimen where it's supposed to be hard on purpose so that you get as close to failure as you possibly can and maybe fail out 9 times before you hit it, puts value in the thing. And then somebody comes along who's got no testicles and says, well, people feel really bad when they don't win. So let's make it easier for them. Well, all you did was create, like, the guy that comes out of the 4 failures and really hard to do thing. You're going to agree with me that person's probably stronger than normal. He is one that you would select as someone who defend you when a hard time comes down the road. The person that took the stress card, right, or tapped out on day 2 or made a bunch of excuses or it was somebody else's fault, that's not the person you would choose.
Yeah.
So when you take a sampling of everyone, right, and I said, hey, choose your warrior, when you're not in hard times, you're going to be like, I don't need a freaking warrior. I need someone that makes me feel good, knows how to put a good Mai Tai together, listens to Kenny G in the background, and has small penis, because small penis people really, cause less problems than whatever. And then you're like, bad things happen. You're like, whoa, I'm surrounded by small penis people that don't know how to pick a fight. I'm in bad shape. And a lot of people die when that bad thing visits you. And you take the people who didn't go along with that, big penises, big ego, big capability, and they become the most powerful person. They weren't powerful when things were quiet and peaceful. So this thing about, like, we take kids, for instance, right? And we're like, hey, my life was a struggle and I want to save my kid from struggling and feeling bad and doubting themselves and whatever. So I'm going to make their freaking life easier, right? So what do? We take a small penis kid who's never going to be able to combat with a giant and win. That's all we're doing.
I'm so glad you went in that direction, because I was just thinking in my head the idea of gentle parenting.
Yeah. Stupid.
I just saw a reel recently of a woman saying how she did gentle parenting for a while and she 100% regrets it. And she is now spending all this time trying to undo everything she just did to her kids and all the frustrations. And I know of some people that I don't know if what they're doing is gentle parenting, but it sure as hell is not parenting maybe hard enough. Where do you put the emphasis? Because I can understand to a point when I hear things from these parents like, we want our kids to be happy and explore things and not feel restricted and feel confident in what they're doing and feel comfortable in these different surroundings. And I get it. And then you also see, and Jordan Peterson even pointed this out once, and I totally agree. Those kids are not liked by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Other grown-ups don't want to be around them. Sometimes other kids don't want to be around them. Nobody likes you when you're acting that way, kid. So where should the emphasis be? The parent-child relationship and making sure that kid is comfortable in that, or some discomfort there, but the kid then faces less friction in the real world.
So long that you can keep a civilization that has no frictions, you're fine. So if you're hedging and you're guessing that, you know, society is going to be great and we're going to keep everything contained and everything's going to be boring, you can sit down and play video games and you're going to be all right. That's fine. I think that's a bad bet. I would rather train a kid that's a warrior, never have to use their warrior skills, than have somebody who needs society to adhere that we need to have no battles, right? So, you know, when I was a kid, this is an old man moment.
Back in my day,
whenever I would experience something that I didn't like and I would vocalize it, I was given one statement by uniformly every person that was in my life. And it became a metaphor for everything, right?
Yeah.
And when I was in the moment, I fucking hated this saying, but it was built into my brain. And now I have so much appreciation. If I said something like, well, I want to do this, or this is not right, or blah, 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 my family in unison would say, you got to eat a bushel of dirt before you die, right? And in the moment, it sucked to hear that.
You got to eat a bushel of dirt before you die. I have never heard that.
Well, I'm sharing it with you, and use that as a metaphor.
Is that an expression, or did they make that up?
They made it up, but it's stuck with me since I was a kid. You got to eat a bushel of dirt before you die, right? So as a metaphor, when you hear that, what does that mean to you? Because I'll tell you what it meant to me. It forged me.
I just sort of take that as, well, you got to have some hardships and some difficulties and do things that suck.
Okay. And it's not like you got to tolerate a bushel of dirt before you die, right?
Yeah.
You have to. It's a requirement of you that you get frictions, something you don't like, as a way of building you and your character and building your tenacity based on you're going to do something you don't like, not because you want to. It's not about what you want. It's that you have to, and it's going to build you into the person that you need to be.
Yeah. And that's something I've been seeing a lot lately and even thinking about a lot lately, coincidentally. If I look back on my life and maybe my immediate family's life, everything really great that has ever happened that we ever got came from something really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And if that really shitty thing didn't happen, we wouldn't be there. We wouldn't have that.
Yeah. So, but in parenting, when you have sort of like emotional guidance, it means that if you care about someone, you want to save them from a hardship. It feels good to do that.
Yeah.
But if you are in a room and saying, hey, this thing's about to visit your kid, all right, and you have Joe who's looking at the utility, well, that thing visiting them that they're not going to like whatsoever is going to change them. And as long as it doesn't cause disease or damage, right, then they're going to be stronger because of it. They're going to have just enough adversity so that they're going to be stronger after the visit. Yeah. Now, as a mom, a nurturer, you're going to be like, well, no, I don't want them to visit them. That's going to be really hard. They're going to feel bad. They're probably going to cry. I want to save them from that. So you become the warrior. Like, parents understand that they are being the stand-in. They're taking the bullet for their kids, so they feel like they are the warrior.
Oh, and it's tough. Like, as a mom, there are so many instances I know my child really doesn't want to do something. I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to go there. And if I gave in and said, all right, you don't have to, there would be no immediate detriment. It really would not matter that day. But in the long run, like, I know it is good for you and this learning opportunity and for your character to make you do this. And I will feel terrible about it and I will hate it and I don't want them to be upset or in discomfort, but it's like, I have to make you feel this discomfort because it's going to
100%.
shape you.
You know, I tell my son, this is my favorite one. He hates this.
Oh gosh.
I say, you know what they say in Russia?
What?
Tough shitsky. They say that. That's my favorite one because I don't, like I'm tired. You know what they say in Russia? Is I only have to say what they say in Russia. He fills the blank in his head, and I love that I can get under his skin that way.
See, usually I will tell my kid, I'll be like, well, it's the right thing to do. But, and sometimes I will go through it all and explain exactly why it's the right thing to do. And then there are other times where after hearing the whining so much, you'll be like, I don't care. Shut up. I don't want to. I know. And I don't care. You're doing it anyways.
My son, since he was, 10, 5, he was really young. We wrestled, right?
Yeah.
And I was teaching him physical combat and being able to square up with someone who's bigger than you and try to take some advantage. And I was a wrestler growing up. I took some karate, taekwondo, some different flavors of owning somebody with their physical body. And, he has gotten so effing strong. Like he still can't beat me because of, some of the leverage points that I know about and he doesn't know about yet. And from my standpoint, I'm creating a warrior and letting him wrestle with me and take control in certain circumstances. And I'm not going easy on him. Trust me. He doesn't go easy on me and I don't go easy on him. And what do you think my wife's doing in the background? You guys are gonna get hurt. You're bending his arm backwards.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Exactly. And so the balance between where I'm not doing disease or injury, I'm giving him enough frictions where he knows that he can get to a certain point where he starts to get dominated and he gets to invent ways. The next time that we do the wrestling, he tries a couple of moves on me and we get stronger and faster every time.
So animalistic.
Yes, that's what we're human beings. We think we are primitive. 90% we're primitive and 10% is going on up here.
So here's a real situation. I was just in a couple nights ago. It'd be interesting to see what you would think. Because I have a boy and a girl. My son, I could see, would be more that.
Yeah.
Our daughter is far more intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And she made a comment the other night. She's like, I can't stand people that take the easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
And she's 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, at school. Like, there's kids that will do hard things and work hard and master it. And there's kids that choose to do the easy thing because it's easy. They take the easy way out. They don't accomplish anything and they get recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, and not only does it annoy me that they're lazy and they do the easy option, but they're the ones that get all the recognition.
Right.
And the people who went the hard route don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had this whole conversation of like, well, get used to that. That's just the case sometimes. Don't do something for recognition. Do it because you know it's right. Do it because it's shaping you. It's making you better. You are getting something out of it. Don't do anything for recognition. If you get it, that's nice, but that's not why you're doing it.
Okay.
So
I'm going to tell
what would you have said?
Well, no, you were on par.
Okay.
Right? But there was one step. And this actually, all we're talking about right now makes civilization worse. But so long the game of civilization is primitive in nature, you have to say the other thing. So let's just say you have two people, and I'm challenging my kid physically and intellectually. So he's going to be a dual threat, right? He can own you with his mind, and he can own you with his muscles and his strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the same thing for your daughter, but it's going to be in a different way. Okay, so intellectually, people who aren't really interested in the physical side of things. There's a point of it where you have intellectual mastery. Can you own someone intellectually?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because you have a feminine influence on her, you're going to teach restraint, which means the justice of the world means that when I come up to you and I have the broadsword at your throat, that I'm either going to decapitate you or I'm going to spare you, right? Now, I teach my kid on the physical side to spare someone. Make sure they acknowledge dominance, and when they tap out, they're done, right? They know they've been hit. Show mercy. On the intellectual side, I do not teach restraint. When he gets in a position, especially with people that he can dominate on the intellectual side, you finish them. Okay. So all I would tell you is you're going to walk up to a point where you know you're intellectually superior, and you're going to want to restrain yourself from completely dominating them. You have to ask yourself, the person that's on the other side, if they use their advantage, would they at the very end hole up, right, and not finish you? Well, if you're dealing with someone on the other side that would absolutely take the, put themselves at the top of the pedestal because of they've been acknowledging, that is them saying, you know what, I don't deserve this. Don't put me up on a pedestal. I barely made it, kind of thing. Versus when I'm going to tell your daughter, when you own someone, go for the jugular every single time and finish them.
Finish them.
Teach finishing them, because that's her skill set. She's going to be have a mind that can conquer. Have her conquer.
I think her difficulty, her obstacle is going to be, much like her mother, the emotions.
Right.
You've got to learn to stifle your emotions.
Well, the emotion
in
of
order
complaining
to do that.
against, if she doesn't finish them, but then she complains that societally in general, that they're not like seeking justice to make sure she gets put on that pedestal. Well, she's buying into a system that has a 0% chance of reciprocating. So she needs to do it herself and say, okay, well, if you're going to use your emotion to complain about what somebody else got, but then when you had a chance to finish them and go fight for it yourself, don't complain about this one if you're unwilling to finish them. Get them.
It was so interesting too how this came up. So she's in band in school, and at her school you either take band or choir. You have to do one or the other. I was in choir. As a kid, I didn't have any interest in any particular instrument, and choir seemed more fun to me. And sometimes there was choreography involved, and I'm into that, and I just liked it. And so she's like, everybody takes choir because it's the easy way out. And I said, first of all, hold up. That's not why I took it. And she said, okay, 80-20. I said, what's 80-20? She's like, 80% of them maybe truly enjoy it. And that's their interest, and that's why they're in it. 20% taking the easy way out. And I said, I'll give you that, probably. She's like, they don't want to learn an instrument. It's harder to learn an instrument. You got to lug an instrument around. It takes more time and effort than standing there and pretending like you're singing, and all they're doing is moving their mouths. And I was like, I'll give you that. And so that's what annoys her, is that 20% that is like, you're just lazy pieces of crap. Yeah. And I was like,
I will tell you, in a warrior's mindset, lazy people are easy to crush. So just you tell her as her mom to go crush those people.
Go crush them.
Use your superior brain to crush the people that annoy you. You're a warrior. It works.
Rather than just letting them sort of fizzle out on their own because they're clearly not highly motivated, hard workers.
How many times? We live in a culture of apathy that supports the losers, right?
Yeah.
And so the losers don't really pay the consequence. It's the winners who did nothing about it. Go for the jugular. It's up to them to short circuit our current culture by creating a justice in winners crushing losers, period.
I keep thinking, no, not all the time, but like we've talked before about, even in like the workplace, the people that work hard get more responsibilities because the people who slack off are allowed to slack off.
Right.
And I'm like, I've always been the one that was frustrated because I work hard and I get more crap, and then the losers are allowed to be losers. And I'm like, have I ever won over them, or do they just skate through life and they're allowed to do it? But I guess in some instances I have. But sometimes it's like,
again, we live in such a society, and we keep the slackers alive so often. When you support a slacker and you don't let them off them, like I said, nature, you got eugenics and you got, the evolution.
Yeah.
Right? When you keep people who should emotionalizing and feminizing, you're going to keep slackers alive because you feel bad for them.
Yeah, I was just, and professionally, I was just in this situation very recently where a coworker was facing something difficult. And I knew I'm better at this. I'm better equipped. I can handle this. Mm-hmm. It would be easier for me than that person to do this. But we are in this situation because of that person. This is a mess they need to clean up. Mm-hmm. And everything in me was like, just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just clean it up again this time and it'll go smoothly. And I was like, no. And I felt just like a mother teaching their young child, you've got to do this hard thing. You put us in this situation. You're cleaning up your mess. And I'm just like, oh, everything in me was. Ugh.
But it's hard and it feels insensitive when you have a proper definition of what justice is, right?
Yeah.
And not going to a person that did everything wrong up to a certain point and saying, well, no, you need to have a year of uncomfort to pay for all of the things that you did.
And this person even said, could you just do this? You're better at it. And I was like, no, you've got to do this.
So again, the logic of finish them. Okay, so let's just say you have two people, both of equal capacity, intellectual capacity. One person goes through college and they do the party life and they spend all their money and they really enjoyed it. And one person spent every night in the library studying and doing their deal. They get to the end of the road. Are they equal at that point? One made sacrifices and just got huge advance ahead of the other person. The other person had the enjoyment and they had the college life in the bag, right?
Yeah.
Now, the one person who didn't make the sacrifice now feels like there's an injustice because the person of intellectual superiority because of the sacrifice are now way ahead of them. What would you as a mother, right?
Yeah.
Looking at both of those, what now should that person, the person that didn't sacrifice, what cost should they feel for the next 4 years? Should you equalize?
What should they feel?
Yeah, because they're going to be in bad spot. They're so far behind.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna want sort of this sense of justice of like hard work pays off and nose to the grindstone is gonna get you somewhere.
Correct.
And like the Goofus and Gallant, speaking of showing ages, remember Goofus and Gallant in Highlights magazines?
No.
Oh my God. Highlight magazines. Any kid of the 80s, 90s, Goofus and Gallant. Goofus was always screwing up. Gallant was doing the right thing. And you would want to be like Gallant and prosper because of doing the right thing. However, we see in life that's not always the case. You can have someone who's working hard and nose to the grindstone and sacrificing, and someone who's a total slack off, but knows somebody in high places, or personality is more likable than the other and goes farther.
Now, is there anybody immune from that? See, I feel like I hold everybody accountable from that. And I don't listen to sob stories that allow someone to say, well, you know, Joe, while you were hard at work, taking all these risks for the last 10 years, I was partying and doing nothing. And now I need SNAP benefits. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Go back in time, make different choices, arrive at the same point. If we did the same thing and then you are still in the predicament, cool. You pissed it away by making bad choices. I mean, I'm going to give up some of what I have for you? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a gamble. It's really what's the outcome and what you did to get there. If you slacked and partied and never worked hard, but you just hit the lottery in life and you knew people in high places and your personality meshed with others and you were successful, congratulations. You beat the system. But if you slacked and partied and never worked hard and now your life sucks and you're suffering, then yeah, don't go to the person.
Well, you as a taxpayer, if you ran across someone that you were able to watch them in every decision they made, they did opposite of you. We'll go to school and get a good job and make good decisions. They did everything wrong. They make every poor choice. And now you're eyeballing them and they're looking you and I and say, I want you to give up 25% of everything you have so I can have. You're going to look at them and like, wait a minute.
Get the heck out of here.
You didn't want my advice or my help when you were making the decisions. Why all of a sudden, when it comes to taking shit that's mine, all of a sudden you're super interested in me.
Yeah. And that's that really annoying, workplace example I gave is when you see the coworkers leave while you're staying late. Mm-hmm. They're not there yet when you show up. They don't do extra. They don't step in and help. They don't go above and beyond. And they probably slack at the baseline of their responsibilities. Then they come to you and go, oh, it must be nice you just got this. Oh, that's not fair. You did this. And I'd be like, shall we recap everything that we just did?
And that's your daughter. She wants to then point out how there's a massive injustice between I did the thing that was hard, you did the things that was easy, and how dare you even open your mouth? You should have so much guilt and shame about everything you've done. It should be an apology that you're doing, not trying to justify bad behaviors and somehow making that my fault and responsibility. It feels heartless, but in an apathetic, lazy culture, that's exactly what ends up happening. The people who are doing the right thing, demonized. The people who are doing the wrong thing, they're benefited.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We see that everywhere. And then it almost goes, the reason it feels almost futile to fight against it is now we have an entire leadership that promotes that. There's a whole administration and government that promotes that.
Yes.
Because they benefit from it.
Yeah.
So how do you even say, oh, go and own them and destroy them and finish them when they're like, you can't finish me. I have an entire organization behind me that's going to back me up over you.
When you are a superior, right, you can dominate without anybody giving you permission to dominate, and in ways that you can control. So if you had 20 things, 10 of them were out of your control, can't dominate them because you're not at say, but there's 10 things that are completely in your control that you have ultimate say. Worry about the 10 that are completely in your control, and then you will be a more dominating force at the end of the day, and you won't even care about the 10 things that are out of control. But our sense of justice means that we fixate on the things we can't do anything about.
Yeah.
So let's just say you could either be intellectually superior, athletically like an Adonis, right? Or you can have acknowledgement and people give you credit. Two of those things you can master and nobody says you can't. Two of those are going to take somebody being complicit with you in order to get. So are you going to wait until you get acknowledgement before you take control of the things that you can? No, you're going to do those things and then effing dominate. And then you're undeniable.
This is true. Chicken says they can fizzle out, but we can have fun dominating until then. Maybe they will rise with some pressure. It's practice all around, and we want to practice how we play.
100%. And that's really the subtext of what you give your kid is sort of the principles that will guide them, knowing what's what's baked in the ingredients of success. So if someone comes along and says, hey, I look at some statistics, and if you do X, you have a 90% chance of something happening, right? My kid's going to be like, well, that's a probabilities increase. If I just do that thing, it's not for sure it's going to happen. And you have other feminized versions of it who are like, it's all or nothing. If you can't guarantee me, I want nothing of it. And then you'll just sit there, be a victim, wait for the victim patrol to come along, hoist you on their shoulders, give you a little bit of benefits. And when I look at it and say, the person who followed truth and science and statistics wins, and all you've got is really suffering, right? And a lot of loud anger that's coming out of you. When I'm looking at you and weighing the two, which would I want to be? I'm going to say, kid, I want you to go out there and dominate, have a good sense of justice, have a good sense of morals and ethics, but don't let anybody who's this victim win over you. Crush them when you have a chance. Give them reasons to change their decisions so they want to be more like you rather than the other way around. And we're in a position now where we're contemplating, like, if someone's going to hand us a plate of food, we want to find out what we have to do to get it, rather than someone has a plate of food. I'm going to find out how I don't need you, and I'm going to go get my own food, so you can't control my thought process, so that I'm beholden to the plate of food. That's where we're really at. More people splinter off and say, hey, these benefits suck for the people that are trying to control me. The more of a populace that's willing to fight rather than just comply.
So I've been thinking about this idea a lot lately of, I guess in your words, crushing when you can.
Yes, crush when you can.
Versus offering grace
yes.
when you can.
Mm-hmm.
And in this newfound sort of church following mindset I've been in lately, I think maybe I try to talk myself out of frustration by using the notion of offer grace, offer grace, offer grace, offer grace, until I'm like, I can't anymore. I want to crush them. Would you say the difference there is offer grace in situations that they truly have messed up without trying, rather than those that are just now conditioned to never try and take the easy route, crush them?
I think you need to have a better definition of grace, right? And grace does not mean non-judgment,
bulldozed.
all forgiveness, whatever. Jesus was a badass. Like, he did not F around when it came to, when there was a wrong, there was a consequence for wrong. And real grace was, in your kid, if you, let's just say you have a punishment that is going to do zero good. There's going to be no teaching. There's going to be no virtue in it. All it is rage or revenge on your part. Then that's not grace. If it's doing more harm to let somebody out of a consequence of their own actions, you're not doing them a favor. Only like taking advantage of when somebody needs some kind of repercussion for something and let them live in a teachable moment. That is, grace would be allowing them to experience that, not depriving them of that.
Yeah. And we've had conversations where, my kids were having problems with other kids, and I'll kind of to an extent explain, like, hey, they have a lot of issues. They have mental health issues. They have whatever, maybe family issues. Like, kids that are typically jerks for no reason have other things going on. Try to be mindful of that and understanding and give grace when you can. But if they continue to escalate it, you have my permission to end this.
Yes.
Like, you may be in trouble in school, and you better be careful how you choose to fight this, because you could get your ass handed to you, but you won't be in trouble with me at home.
Yep.
I'll be like, hey, you gave them so many opportunities to back off, and if this is the way it got, this is the way it got.
Yeah.
You just better be careful.
But your best insight is from someone who's been through battles to let you know the wisdom of what those battles consist of. So as a kid, I fought everybody. Like, you had a disagreement. We weren't great with words. There was no logic in our arguments. It was just you punch people until they submitted, right? So the strong people were right more often than the weak people were. And that was just the way. So I've been punched in the face a lot, right? And so someone who's not been punched in the face, right, are contemplating saying words that I would say, that's going to get you punched in the face, right? Are you cool with getting punched in the face? Because from my perspective, you say that shit, you better be able to back it up, because a face punching is the cost of saying that thing. So what it did was it made you really think about the things that you were about to utter, and either they had some gravity and it needed to be said and you were willing to pay the price, versus this neutral vanilla environment we have now where you can say something and not get punched in the face, allows people to say things that they should have contemplated more. So I would tell my kid, like, hey, we don't really live in a world that, that talking shit is going to have some kind of physical consequence. So go talk shit. That's all you're conditioning people. But in my world, right, there was a whole lot less shit talking that happened if you weren't willing to suffer some punches.
You said we don't live in a world
where
shit talking
where there's a lot of you think about how many people that respond to some of these videos that when we're in person, how many times Jersey Joe, right, would do some punching with those people. If
keyboard warriors,
you say that shit to me in person, and there will be some stuff that happens different than if it's just on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of people, trolls and people that say things online. And I'm like, dude, you wouldn't have the balls to say that to someone's face in person.
Right. Squaring off was a thing. And it was a function of knowing, taking your tongue. And Ron Verb on KBN used to say, don't fear your tongue, right? As a way of don't refrain from saying a truthful thing because it's going to hurt somebody else's feeling. And that can only exist in a world where there isn't a cost for saying a thing. Because there's a time where I'm going to say, hey, measure your tongue and only say things that are of extreme value, because there might be a cost and consequence of saying that to the wrong person. There was an era before ours that you could be killed for, mouthing off to the wrong person. Yeah. We don't live in that era right now. You can say anything to anybody.
I mean, I think we do a little bit though. I think there's a lot of psychos out there that will kill someone for saying
We're getting
something.
There. And that is part of my warning of having, free of shame and guilt of saying something, that retribution happens because of this. And we're in for a storm. It's
almost like we've got a whole generation of little psychos that couldn't hear something they didn't like. Now they do, and they don't know how to handle it. Yep. They don't know how to blow it off or walk away or not listen to it. They amp it. And it's not punching because they know that they would get
away with it.
dominated or defeated in that. It's weapons, it's killing. It's like they got to go from like, they got to amp it up because they know they'll get owned anything else.
Yep. All right, let's talk about Trump and the Epstein list for the
Yes.
953rd time.
The most
So those of you
ridiculous
joining us
is-
now and have listened to us for a while, Kelin and I just want government to throw their self-interest aside and do the right thing.
grow the F up.
And if there are people that were predators of young girls, that we just out them, put them all in prison. And if it means the loss of government and the loss of powerful people, so be it. Let's wash this out of their system because it's obviously very dirty.
Yeah.
But instead, because of the stupid nature of human beings, we've allowed it to become a political football, and which one party will take something that has, can cause injury to the other party, and they whitewash it. They will cherry pick information and try to hurt the other party. And then the other person has access to the same stuff and they cherry pick and try to do damage to the other party. So the mission statement isn't people were abused and the abusers need to find their way in prison. The mission statement now changes, and there's information that does damage to the other guy, and we're just using those people in that abuse to do injury to the party that's not our own. And it is equally as absurd and it is evil and vile to pull that strategy off. And that's exactly what both parties are doing. So Trump yesterday said, release all the files. And you can hear eye rolls from anybody who's paying attention to this, to the, oh, you mean the 9,000th release of Epstein files? You released them before, but this is what's left to release. If we release the release, what wasn't released? And
Okay, now really release the good ones.
Totally serial this time.
Yeah.
So if you were to guess, if they vote to release the Epstein files, the ones that can be released, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said in the quote. Anything that can be released, release it. What's your prediction of what happens next?
I still doubt there is anything. I think release the Epstein files is just nothing. It's a thing they say. I don't fully believe there is anything else. If there is, we're not going to see what it is. They have said this time and time and time again. Oh, go ahead, release this. Go ahead, release this. Nobody in our government or position of power wants, if that document does in fact exist, wants it out. I think it's so big. I just recently watched an interview with one of the victims. It was some Australian news organization. I think this may be one of the women who's now dead. She was being interviewed about this, and she even said, this is so massive. The only way we are ever going to get anywhere is if the people involved grow a conscience, realize what they've done, and come forward. Mm-hmm. Just admit you did wrong and help these victims by talking out. None of them are ever going to do that.
Let me check my probabilities. Oh, 0%.
Yes. Let's make all these predators suddenly find Jesus and say,
and out themselves.
What I did was wrong. I am speaking up and admitting it. And here's everybody who was there alongside me. That's never going to happen. And this victim even said, this is so big. It's not even just the US. It's the whole world was involved. And this is the only way that we'll find justice. You better start coming to terms that you're not going to find justice.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Again, I've predicted from the very beginning that anything that outed anyone has been long destroyed throughout this entire process. Yep. And whatever's remaining is stuff that's been already sorted through. And it doesn't really implicate anyone. It's not going to put anybody in prison.
Yep.
All it's going to do is feed the masses who say, we all know you're corrupt and did all this kind of stuff, and we want some kind of justice. So maybe we get a fall guy out of it where they pick one or two names of expendable people, put them in prison.
Probably
and say,
princes and things that aren't even in our country.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if anything, I think the most we can do is hope that by hearing the victims' stories, we can try to avoid another generation of young people getting abused. Like She talked a whole lot about her history. She was physically and mentally abused long before Jeffrey Epstein. This was just a pattern in her life, which is why, everyone's like, well, why would you go back? Well, why would you keep going? Like, she was already so far broken that this was just another thing in her life. And then some of the other victims, I saw another interview where maybe she wasn't quite that. She knew this was wrong. But again, she was of the mindset she was trying to break into the modeling celebrity fame industry. And so being around these people, she thought, while this feels very wrong, this may be a necessary evil to put up with. Like, if anything, we're going to have to use what happened as a way to train younger generations to not ever get yourself in that position to be a victim. Because I think the days of punishing the abusers, that's going to be harder. It'll be harder to punish the abusers than it will be to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else, I think.
All right. So again, mathematically, this doesn't square. Okay. So here's the thing. Like, let's go foundationally. The founders didn't build into the power, the separations of power between, let's have a bunch of people who go into government with lots of testosterone, lots of ambition for more, and a penis between their legs, right? And start mixing women of power in with that, right? And you have some subordinate type of relationships in power. Now, if you just set the stage, you watched any movie, what's going to happen if that were to occur?
If there's men in
There
power,
are men in power that have penises, lots of testosterone,
yeah,
and women in power that have ambitions just the same. You mix those two, males and females, in something. What ends up happening?
I feel like stereotypically the men would dominate.
Okay. Women would use their sexuality to be able to get high presence in that thing, and men would use their penis to dominate and subordinate anybody who's there. So there's a lot of sex that's going to happen in that deal, right? Oh, by the way, did you know that little slush fund that they have to pay off abuses or whatever, 14 million since the beginning of this year was paid out to quiet any kind of
14 million.
14 million out of that slush
And do
fund.
they know who it went to or
It's
who
kinda
used
quiet. Like,
it? Or
we really don't know about the line items.
how about we release that?
That would be really great to see who are deviant. So okay,
that's at least something we know exists.
So here's the deal. Are we putting deviants who are sexually active and have lots of testosterone and a swinging dick in situations, right? So the Catholic Church, they said, hey, let's do celibacy. Like, we're going to have people of faith not be around women. So we don't have any of this stuff happening with the church. Let's keep it separate. Let's just have men amongst men, right? And because they still had the chemicals of attraction, different stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
Science is our friend here. What causes impulses for what would be high probability sexual deviancy? How could we control the different characteristics? All right, neutering men who want to go into public service. So procreating, you're done. You're in the latter part of your life. You don't need to be procreating anymore. Your dick's not really even necessary except for taking urine out of your body, and that's about it. So let's neuter some guys and cut some stuff off and make it so that that's not their main attraction. At the same time, right, when you take the testosterone out of a man, some of the stuff that guys can get done because of that testosterone, it's limited. And you've essentially feminized men, and now your government has made a bunch of dickless men, right?
Yeah.
And if you took women and excluded them, now we just have gay things happening within the halls of Congress. So it's not, you don't solve it from a foundational standpoint, as long as you have primitive beings that are guided by sexuality and the hormones that make people do things. So give me some suggestions.
I mean, I think somehow we've got to look at changing the power dynamic with the leadership. We've talked quite a few times about people leading our government should be there with a mindset of serving.
Yes.
This isn't, I'm now powerful and in a powerful position and you all have to do what I say. It was always meant to be, I want to serve others. I want to give of myself to better you. And that's why you're there. I think that power dynamic they have of feeling all powerful and feeling that something over others contributes to that feeling of, I want to dominate you. I want to own you. I can abuse you. I can do whatever I want. I'm all powerful, because they're not in the mindset of, I'm here to help you, care for you, serve you. I think that shift would benefit greatly with what's happening.
Well, if you hit that button, can you picture what would happen? So make public service just be about serving. There's no money in it. It's a sacrifice. You don't even really want to do it because it's
people
whatever.
wouldn't do it.
People wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So the people that would do it,
they need some benefits here.
Right. And
Yeah.
and that's what the founders took into consideration, is that you don't take an idealistic world that doesn't exist. You create a power balance between two opposing forces and let that balance, that oscillation between the two, right it when it goes wrong and it gets pulled back in the other direction. So if you take that and you're like, okay, well, the idealistic world of just having people have no ambitions for power, money, and success, not go in here to make a bunch of money off of BlackRock, don't really care about being popular or people knowing who I am, just nice, boring in general, right? So all we have is librarians everywhere, just high academics that go there, and they're just interested in the function of government, which I would be happy, because in the government, you wouldn't even know that it exists. You'd be like, oh, we have a federal government. What does it do?
But again, that would also require everything else to get better too, like media. Mm-hmm. Who's going to want to be in a servant position that is just all about integrity and serving others and doing what's right, when your opponent will rip you to shreds, even if you're the good one? Right. Like, it doesn't matter, because they'll find something that makes you look bad, or they'll lie to make you look bad. They'll tear you apart. They'll make people not trust you. So if there's not at least money or power involved, why would anybody put themselves through that?
But we've ramped up the thirst and the hunger for that kind of TV, entertainment, politics.
Yeah.
So that then government just became, joined that, merged in with that sentiment. Mm-hmm. So if it were, okay, so we had one radio station, NPR. Now the news is happening and I am calm, right? Yeah. When's the last time you listened to NPR?
Probably never.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And I bet you there's been other news organizations that you have watched, and the reason you're not watching NPR, they don't take an angle on it. It's
boring.
It's very boring, right?
Yeah.
So if the librarians conquered Congress, and it just became a high academics that when they talk to you, you tune them out after 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
You're not interested in it. Government loses its power because we pay attention and we're pissed off. That is their power.
Yeah.
So they broker outrage as a currency of their position.
Did you see recently information coming out about, I think it was ABC, probably not just ABC. I'm sure multiple news organizations ran the story about I'm doing air quotes, teacher that was dragged out of a school by ICE agents and how awful that was. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Did you see what actually happened? So news organizations report ICE agents go into a school, drag out an immigrant teacher, traumatizing all these kids who see a teacher being abused this way, and it was so awful. What actually happened wasn't a teacher at that school at all. There was a traffic stop. A woman and her boyfriend were pulled over, and they fled. They tried to outrun the police. She ran into this school to take cover, barricading herself in the entryway, trying to fight off these agents who had to go in and drag her out because she was running from the police. Two totally different situations. And I'm like, and this is the news media we listen to where we get information.
Mm-hmm. It solves this. The only way that that's possible is when you have an account, somebody's story that is captured, right?
Yep.
And you know what else that is? Having a body cam on you that tells the entire story, and you don't care about the opinion of someone who's going to take it. So let's just say you get pulled over and you're feeling kind of sassy that day. And the cop was like, hey, you know what? You were speeding, and can I have your license? And you're like, I'm not giving you my license. And they're like, well, I stopped you. I have probable cause. You have to give me your license. Now, you don't feel like you should.
Yeah.
So you're like, no, I'm not giving you my license. And the cop says, well, because you didn't do that, I'm going to break your window, right? And I'm going to pull you out of the car. And so they break your window and they pull you out of the car. And all of a sudden you're like, I just wanted to talk. What?
Now it's an abuse of power.
Now we're going to take both of these accounts. And you're going to say, right, all you had was questions and they broke your window. That's you're going to story because from your perspective, you didn't know that they were going to, even though they said, I'm going to break your window if you don't give me your license. You don't think they should have. And your opinion means that from your perspective, you've been violated by a cop that stepped over their bounds. And then the cop's going to say, well, no, I gave warnings and I did what I said I was going to do. And I gave fair amount of time to comply with the order that was given. 2 accounts now. And if you went in front of a judge, you can say yours. Now the judge has to say, well, this is what this person is saying, and this is what this person is saying. I got to make a judgment call based on 2 of those perspectives. But if the judge is like, F both of you are going to say what serves your interest best. Give me the body cam. I'm going to watch from start to finish, and I'm going to judge. Now you can't tell me what you think happened, and you can't tell me what you think happened. I'm going to watch it for my effing self, and I don't care. Somebody's going to jail today.
Yeah.
Right now. But we still live in a captured society where you get these little streams of information from certain people where they edit and cut and give you a slanted view of something. Eventually, the consumers are like, I just want to see the body cam. You've wronged me enough times where you can't tell the truth and you just have an objective. Just give me the body cam footage. And if things become so transparent that when a representative's walking around, right, and everything they do and say is captured by audio and video, and they don't have the ability to go in a captured environment or back room and do something only to come out there and tell you from their perspective what happens, because that's not believable anymore. I either want to see it for myself or F you. And
that's why I have almost completely turned off all major news organization outlets and just strictly use the internet and YouTube, which at first might sound kind of funny, but that to me is like checking the body cam. And when I see a news outlet with this headline that says, so-and-so just said this, and I'm like, what? That's insane. I see, where did they say they said it during this interview? I go to YouTube and I watch the full interview, uncut, in the context in which it was said. And it is almost always taken completely out of context. And that's when I'm like, that organization should be done. You should be done. You know exactly what you did. It wasn't even like you were deceived. You knew you did that on purpose. You knew exactly what you did. You were pushing a narrative with an entirely fake made up story, and you should now be discredited. But we don't. We're like, oh, but it's NBC. It's
because
CNN,
I'm not going to be lumped in with the mind-numbed people.
The general public, dare I say, don't be mad. Those leaning pretty far left.
But there's advantage into feeling that way.
Yeah.
Like if you spend every day investing,
and people on the right can also only watch things they want to see too. It is both sides.
And we dabble in this because we are just objectively looking at truths. And I don't have a team and you don't have a team, right? And so if I've invested myself into being a Trump supporter, right, then I have an advantage in minimizing things that make me look foolish for being a Trump supporter and magnifying things that make me look good for being a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
And same thing on the other side. So if you hate Trump, then you minimize things that make Trump look good and you maximize things that make Trump look bad. You're a soldier in the army for a team, not just a general observer who just wants to know what truth is. So what would you say percentage, just best guess, of how many people out there want to know how the sausage is made versus they want the sausage?
They want to know how it's made.
Yeah.
First, they just want it.
Yeah. So you're a wrestling fan. Do you want to know how wrestling is fake, or do you want to buy into the illusion that wrestling is real?
You probably want to know that it's fake.
Okay. So again,
I think I almost said 80-20, but I'd say it's more like 75% probably doesn't care.
Want the illusion. Yeah. They want the matrix. They want the red meat. It gives them purpose, because when warriors,
it's easier.
Listen, when warriors are not fighting in battle, a battle will still get created.
Yeah.
And they will fight in a battle that's way more abstract than one on the battlefield, and they'll use all of the faculties of their brain to compete in that same arena. So we're better off giving people real purpose in the real world where they're fighting actual battles than letting them go be bored and creating battles in religions and things that there are metaphors rather than, a real analog.
Yeah. I just saw another video last night. I don't know this guy's name. I told you I was going to look up his name, but it was another one of him out sort of doing like Charlie Kirk does, going and talking to people and everything. And he was of the far left, his description.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I have always hated Trump. He says, I was one of those people that were physically crying, screaming when he was first elected. This is so horrific. I can't believe this. And he said, I went online and I said, how could anybody vote for a man that openly mocked a reporter with disabilities? We all saw it. He did it. How could you support him? And he said, and it wasn't until a friend on social media reached out privately and said, I'm not trying to start a fight with you. I'm just curious. Have you by chance seen this video? And sent a video totally showing a whole different story as to what happened there. And he's like, that exact motion he made, the exact words he used, everything. He has done that exact same thing numerous times before that instance and after. That was him calling him a liar. It was his interpretation of somebody who just got caught in a lie. I mean, anytime, and he goes, and you can look it up. Anytime before this instance ever happened with this reporter who happened to be handicapped, he has done that exact same motion and the exact same phrasing. That's his impression of someone who just got caught in a lie. And he was saying that reporter was just caught in a lie. And he says it was at that moment I went, oh my God, I don't even trust the media anymore. And he's like, the media is the actual bad guy here.
Yeah. The apparatus of politics, not just a arbiter of information. They've got an angle on it. And again, they're feeding the thirst of the consumer. Like if the consumer didn't eat it up, there would be no product to sell. But if you just have...
because if they know at least 75% of the population is just going to listen to us and just go with it.
But that's what the founders said was what was necessary, right? You can't just have a judiciary that is unbiased, because it's made up of people and people are biased. You have to have a judiciary that is equally balanced between two political persuasions and they fight it out.
Yeah.
Right? So we like to think in an ideal world that you can find truth. There's an absolute truth. When's the last Supreme Court ruling that went down unanimously?
I don't know.
So that's one branch of government that you would think almost all their rulings are unanimous because they're saying thing that happened, constitutionally sound. So most of them really don't have an angle on it unless you have an expertise on the panel where 8 of the justices were like, well, I don't know enough about it, but it looks constitutional. And one guy's like, hold up, this is my specialty. And here's why I don't think this is constitutional. That should happen every once in a while. For the most part, the judicial or the Supreme Court should be almost always universal. But if you then couple it and make it 50-50 split with a tiebreaker that's neutral in the middle, now you've got a good system because we have a natural way of ferreting out bias from, these aren't dummies that are on the Supreme Court. They're high intellectuals. They're not completely, well, a couple of them are complete partisans with no real brain power there. not mentioning any Kagan names at all. Zero. But you would think that that would be the perfect scenario to show that we can absolutely be biased when it comes to the mechanisms of just seeing something constitutional or unconstitutional, pretty black and white. Nothing's black and white, which means those biases reveal themselves. But again, the founders said, if you're going to have liberal news agencies, just have Republican news agencies and pit them against one another and whatever they hatch out. So the Democrats say that, the fine people story. Cool. Liberals say that we want Trump to say something that turns people off. That white nationalists and neo-Nazis are all very fine people. Cool. That's their angle on it. Now the Republicans and say, I'm going to play the whole clip for you. And that's not what he said at all. Now those two warring gets a reasonable person to say, I just want to know. The people that are just partisan will just say, I don't want to hear what Fox News says. I'm going to go to MSNBC so that they can confirm my biases.
Yeah.
Right. But then the 20% that you're talking about just wants to know, and they're going to watch it over here and say, okay, well, let me watch it over here. And then when those things fight out, now I have an answer.
Yeah. Because, and I've even said too, like, it's gotten to the point where if I'll see something on like NBC and I'll go, oh my God, you're so biased. That didn't happen. Quit being so left. And then I'll see Fox News and I'll be like, you guys are such ass kissers. Like, get out of Trump's ass and actually say something that like doesn't paint him in the most amazing light every time. Because that's not realistic either. So that's why I always say, I want to see what was said. I want the full video. I want the full clip. I want the context. I want everything. And I don't believe either of you will give that to me.
But you're amongst the 20% who are going to ferret out truths. And it's only when you look up 20 articles and find that they were all slanted that at some point you just stop complaining about it and saying that it's biased and just assume that whatever you read and see is biased. And it's up to you to ferret it out and find out what the truth was.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, a news organization, a news program you watch on TV is still that. It's a TV program.
WWE.
Yes. It's like they need ratings. They need interest. They need viewership. So just look at every major news organization as a TV show. May or may not be true. It invokes emotion. It gets you riled up. It may be complete make-believe. And if you want actual information, you better go find it another way. Yeah. Because that ain't it.
But that should, again, we should be indoctrinating kids to learn how to disseminate or at least put through filters the information they get so they can find conclusions, not just believe like a kid disagreeing with the professor and putting all that knowledge in the wastebasket would be a better pursuit of teaching than just blindly following what you were told by professors.
Yeah.
Right?
So Brian says, so with all this media bias on both sides, is there a truly neutral outlet that just reports the news instead of adding their slant to it? Reuters?
Yeah, Reuters has been captured at times, and I think all of them are. Even if you pick somebody like NPR, remember, they're just made up of regular people, and regular people will present with their bias. Editorial boards are captured at times. So you got to almost assume that treating the witness as hostile at any given time, and know that everywhere you read from, it's up to you to try to find out if there's something on the other side of the argument. When we go to vote, there was I think it was called like Ballotopia or Ballotpedia, something like that. And all it would do is it would take anything that you were voting on, and it would take the proponent and the opponent, and they would list out why you should vote for it and why you shouldn't. You can read through those things and make an informed decision, right? Well, you have to take your own initiative and know where your biases are and who they are. Like they're wearing patches. I'm a conservative news outlet. I'm a liberal news outlet. And you get information from both of them, and then you as a person have to figure out which one you believe. But I do not agree that there are any truly unbiased. I want to say that there are places that I trust short term, but that becomes super valuable. If you find somebody who's trusted and is neutral, it's just a matter of time before Soros buys them up and turns them into a slanted deal and leverages their trustedness for political advantage.
Yeah, it's the internet can be such a horrific resource, but also a good resource, because it's like, yes, you can find a lot of misinformation on the internet, but you can also find a lot of video footage on the internet.
And the fear is that if most people are dumb, 80% of the people are dumb and can be persuaded by what they see, then it's detrimental for civilization, because now 80% of the people have a bunch of, they have confidence in what they believe.
Yeah.
And only 20% care enough to know what the truth is.
You almost have to just sort of do some digging. Like, for example, when Charlie Kirk passed away, there was a lot of exposure on some things he said about Martin Luther King Jr. Mm-hmm. And whether you liked Charlie Kirk or you hated Charlie Kirk, you had a totally different picture. And anybody who hated him said he's a racist, who said Martin Luther King Jr. didn't do anything good, and that speech was the only thing good he did. And there's some truth to that. Charlie Kirk felt that he wasn't this amazing, good guy. He had some faults because, one, everybody does. It's unrealistic to think he was just all good. But that he had a background of possibly abusing women. So I went, well, he's not around anymore. I can't ask him. Might be difficult to find an interview, so let me do some Googling, and I found a police report online that a woman had filed, whatever, I don't know if it was in the 60s or whenever it was, a police report stating he had hit her, done something, abused her. So I took that as, oh, there could be some credit to that claim. And so you almost have to just do that. Look at other sources of information, look at proof for certain sides, rather than just what a news reporter is saying happened.
Yeah.
But
that annoys me so much when the insulting and challenging the character of the person that's presenting the curiosity, whether or not they're a racist or they're homophobe or they're sexist or bigoted or some way, right?
I got called racist, by the way.
Yeah.
For even questioning
Dude, I
that.
know you've got at least 2 black acquaintances. There's no way you're racist. I don't know how someone can levy that charge.
Oh, yeah. I got called racist for mentioning that story. I got called racist for mentioning Mendami in New York when all I was saying is, hey, can we stop comparing him to a terrorist? That's really unfair. I got called a racist.
Not Islamophobe?
Because I think the person on the internet heard nothing about why I was talking about him. This total non-racist saw a white girl talking about him and just assumed it was bad.
Yeah, but that, and there was a point where those charges carried some weight, and so that's why it was the go-to in order to undermine your argument, just make you a racist, and then nobody listens to anything you say.
Yeah.
The problem is that everybody's a racist and nobody's a racist, so it's meaningless now. So when a racist really comes along, right?
Yeah.
He's a racist. That's going to mean something different than it did 20 years ago.
It's the name calling. I have nothing else to back this up. I can't argue against your point. So name calling is what they automatically resort to. And the media does this too. It's like, I always use as an example that the first time I ever heard an NBC reporter introduce RFK Jr. as an anti-vaxxer, RFK says blah, blah, blah. I went, you're done. You're done. Because I've seen the man himself out of his own mouth say multiple times, I am not anti-vax. I have had vaccines. My children have had vaccines. I think children should get these vaccines. I am not anti-vax. I just don't like this one. And the moment a news reporter who I was trusting to give me accurate, unbiased information says anti-vaxxer, RFK says, I went, you're done. Click. I don't trust you anymore.
Julie says, my first introduction to who Trump is happened about 40 years ago. I was on a bus tour in New York City when we went into Trump Tower. We walked into the lobby and he came in and targeted a female employee and dressed her down like a dog in front of everybody there. I was so embarrassed for her. When he said what he said about McCain was the death knell for me. And it's no surprise. I think that, I love business. And when The Apprentice came out, I was so excited for a show about business. And when I watched it, I thought, this guy is an imbecile. Like, this flavor of business, I don't even know what he's talking about, because it was all entertainment. It was all a playboy pretending to be business rather than actual business. But he did a thing. It's not my cup of tea. Wanted nothing to do with him. So do I think that Trump was a womanizer when he was a power broker in New York? 100%.
Yeah.
Right. I knew that he probably had lots and lots and lots of sex. Lots of
He
sex.
was on an episode of Sex in the City where they painted him as the millionaire playboy.
And on Howard Stern talked very openly about the womanizing and sexualization of women. That is who he was.
Yep.
Right. And then he became president. So do I like him from a personal standpoint? Absolutely not. There's not somebody that I would feel comfortable even hanging out with. I have no motivation to ever talk to him and shake his hand and get his autograph, right? He's not a hero by any means, because he doesn't embody virtues are hard.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for people who go into hard environments and be themselves and do virtuous things within those. Yeah. People who just play into a machine that's built of a bunch of other slimy people, that doesn't impress me. Being slimy is easy. Being good in those environments is hard.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we as the American people are going to have a real tough time with voting if you put someone's personal character ahead of what they do. Ideally, we would love somebody with integrity and character and they're squeaky clean and they do no wrong to be in leadership. We don't have that. We have never had that. We probably never will.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Like we play these two opposing philosophies, right? We want to take virtue out of society as something that is, old school, like how the sexual revolution and exploring and being yourself and feeding into your own impulses and narcissistic behaviors. Like we have promoted that, but there are still some things that we point to being good or virtuous as something that okay, clutch my pearls and say, you did that, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
So, but I would not mind if we were like, hey, let's hold everybody to account. Let's take some biblical or Christian or any philosophies that make people into better people and hold everybody to those standards and, give advantage to people who pursue those things. But every once in a while, we pluck a virtue down from the tree and then use it as a weapon against somebody who did something. Like it seems like it's a fool's errand.
Yeah, it is. I mean, unfortunately, we got in a situation where, when people want to start talking about like cost of living, the cost of groceries and gas and healthcare and all these things, if you try to make it about, but they were a jerk and they're a womanizer, that crowd does not care. I, as a female growing up, I have multiple stories of people either in high power or well-known positions that are well-known in the community for what they do. And my experience around them, they're total dirtbags. I'd love to be like, do you have any idea what that slime ball said or did to me or what he did to this intern that I was with? Like, they're a total sleazeball, but they're good at what they do. And they're in this business position because that's what they do. And so nobody's going to give two shits.
No.
And again, the moment we have someone that's good at what they do and they're squeaky clean, by all means, we'll all get on the same page and vote for them. But I just don't think
we had
exists.
Mitt Romney. We had squeaky clean people that came through and the machine rejected them because they were too squeaky clean. Mike Pence won't sit in a room with another female to keep his impulses in check. And we mock them. So we both want, right? Squeaky clean. We want squeaky clean, but we're not actually
too squeaky clean. Because if they're too squeaky clean, now they're trying to push their morals on everybody.
Exactly. That's the contradiction as far as I'm concerned. Yep. It is appealing to us that someone exhibits morality that we don't support. Like, it blows my mind.
If someone's like, hey, I believe in being a good person and I'm never going to be alone with a woman and I follow Jesus, it's, oh, you got something against women, you sexist, you're trying to push Christianity on everyone, what a bigot. And then all they'll do is destroy your character as to why you feel that way. Because it's like, well, I can either point out something horrific you did and use that against you, or I can say you've never done anything horrific because you're this way, and that's just as bad.
All right, let's talk about something that's going to get us kicked off, so we're going to reserve that for the last 10 minutes of this place. You ready? So we're not going to say any of the words, but you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right? Megyn Kelly and talking about the age of consent, right? And what, from just a cultural standpoint, what is the age at which consent should be given? What's old enough? What's too young?
Oh, should be, not what we consider it to be?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we have this mentality that 18 is of legal age.
Okay.
Do I think 18 is old enough? I don't know. Maybe. Kind of depends on what it is.
Okay.
Like, I don't disagree with making drinking older.
Okay.
18-year-old that goes and gets wasted all the time and drives around. Heck no.
All right. So women should not use their sexuality for any kind of advantage until 18. Right? Should
not use their sexuality for any kind of advantage.
Yes.
I would hope not.
I mean, I'm talking like the standards of what's culturally acceptable. That
no.
if
You're a child, you should have no
anything under
sexuality.
18, you should be wearing long dresses, no makeup. You should be as pristine as you possibly can to be not an object of sexual advantage.
Again, this feels kind of gray area. I don't think they have to actively cover their bodies in long dresses and make sure that they are like, don't look at me, don't look at me. I don't think it has to go that far.
Wait a minute, hold on. So you would, okay, so you have...
It doesn't have to be scantily clad either.
You have the connecting end, right?
Yeah.
Why you're doing a thing, like put the mission statement of why you're doing it to get attraction, right? To people who cannot, as a standard, be attracted to. So if you put the promotion end on it, you market it. Like if I said we're going to do a sale, right? I should market a sale when I'm open for business, because that'd be really wrong.
I think we're just arguing over semantics.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying a child should go and be sexy. I'm just saying I don't know if it needs to be floor length covered, everything like clearly boring. Don't look at me. I think you can be tasteful and not be that.
We're setting the standards. We're having a hypothetical discussion about if we want men to adhere to 18 plus, then women should adhere to be non-marketable and not advertise themselves as available until 18 plus. And then 18, you take off the Amish gear and you let yourself known that you're available. And now you have a shopping spree.
I agree with part of that.
Tell me.
Amish gear, not necessary. Don't be a hooch. Dress respectably. You're a kid. Don't look skanky. I don't think you have to be like uniformed.
Okay. Well, again, the mission statements of doing X is for the explicit purpose of Y, and defining that as why you do something, like wearing lipstick, right? We use history to define like what's good and what's bad. We take morality from different parts in history. Why would you wear lipstick? What does lipstick do? What is the purpose of lipstick?
Girls like to wear lipstick because they think it's pretty and it's fun and it brings life to their face. And
okay, what's the historical purpose of lipstick?
Not those things.
Not those things at all.
What's the historical purpose of lipstick?
I'm not going to say them in front of a microphone.
I want to know.
Okay.
Was it to be like, hey, this means girl of the night?
Okay, well, this is you can later on go to Grok and ask the historical purpose for amplifying certain things.
Your mouth.
Amplifying.
Starting to see where this is going.
Historical context for why we do things, right? And if we did those things younger, we're making an appeal at a younger age. And then culturally, find it more acceptable to participate in one way, which is a correlation to a participation in a different way. So if we want to minimize and extend the maturity of women for an actual relationship, we would limit the marketing that you're ready for those things. That's one deal.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Making it completely illegal for somebody of a certain age to have some kind of consenting relationship with someone who's over a certain age. That's a great mathematics on it. We make it legally whatever, but we also have to, if it's happening, we have to make it less likely on the other side as well. Yeah. So the Megyn Kelly thing, there was, and I didn't research this all. I took excerpts. So this is probably a fabrication because I cannot see Megyn Kelly saying these things.
Okay.
But 15, they were making, from what I read, they're making an argument for a 15-year-old to maybe a participant in some kind of adult relationship with someone else. And 15-year-old is an effing kid.
That is a kid.
They should be nowhere near an adult.
What are they constituting as an adult relationship?
Like I can't say words that tell you. I can't say the words that
an intimate relationship?
Yes.
So not just like dating, but an intimate relationship.
Someone can, in some states, it's young like that. And in historically, there were wives that were created for men 12 years old. And so we've had a history of figuring out that 12 was way too young and 18 was about the right age. So culturally accepting that we don't want these two things mixing until a certain point,
so
if at all.
Julie says she was talking about 8-year-olds versus 14, 15-year-olds. Does a 14-year-old ever have the mental capacity to make adult decisions? Asking for your 11-year-old. No.
Yeah, there's definitely a dividing line where there's one is just a, sort of moral sin when you take a child, separate from you have somebody dolled up as a 15-year-old that's passing themselves off as adult and
like
behaving
before
like
and
they were
after
adult,
puberty.
and the only thing differentiating them between an 18-year-old is their driver's license. That's when we get like, okay, we're playing a really bad game of chicken here.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had 15-year-olds that when I look at them, they're like, that is definitely a child, and that is not on the menu for some kind of, meal for an adult. That would be a different story. But the argument was separating between what is that P word and what is just somebody, way over their skis and what they're trying to partake in for attention's sake or whatever.
Yeah, because it is interesting, like, and I don't know the age of the victims when they talk about Epstein and all of that, and I'm guessing some got pretty young. But like some of the women I was listening to, they're like 18, maybe 17. Now they started young. But yeah, if it's 18 or 19, they can still be abused. But is it as much of abuse as if it's 13, 14, 15? Legally different, but not that far off when you're looking at the actual age.
Yeah. So like there's been some examples where you see a couple together and you're like, oh, just a young couple. And then you're like, he's 19 and she is 16. And it changes something in your brain. And we're like, hold up. Even though physically they look like they were just a regular couple. Now that I know an age, right, something feels a little dirtier than it did a minute ago.
We got told 5 minutes. Yeah. Because I mean, at one point, if two people are the same age and one becomes 18 before the other, is that now inappropriate and illegal? Whereas I think somebody's like, well, he's 18 and she's 17 and a half, not weird, but then where is it weird? 16 and 18, 19 and 16? Like,
right. So for the Epstein stuff, like the way that this was set up is you had this island and you had Ghislaine Maxwell that were going out to massage parlors and strip clubs. And she was just bringing girls that looked good back to the island. And they were younger in age than what was required by U.S. law. Right. Yeah. And so were the people who were doing the stuff down there, were they specifically going there because there were underage girls? Or was it that they went there and there were girls that just happened to be underage? Right. And does that change anything in your mind? Right. Was this a ring of just sexual abuse or the P word sexual abuse? Yeah.
I mean, gosh, now that you think about it, like in this interview I saw with the victim, I mean, first of all, a victim can be a victim even if they are of legal age. If what they were doing is unwanted and unwarranted and it was horrific, they can be a victim. But for argument's sake, she was saying that her depression got so bad that they medicated her and they kept putting her on meds and they told her, you better smile. You better look like you're enjoying this. And she would be punished if not, because clientele doesn't want somebody that looks like they're being held against their will. So you are polite, you smile, you act like you're having a good time. So is the clientele as evil as we think? I'm not excusing them in any way. But are they as evil as we think if they are somewhere, they don't know the girl's age, and she looks like she's consenting? That does paint a little different picture, which is probably why things get so muddy.
Right. Whether or not they were just the perpetrators were a victim of just shopping from an aisle that was being
I mean, if it's offered. A young girl and she's clearly a young girl, I don't care if she looks like she's having the time of her life. You're disgusting. You're going to jail. No questions asked. That's wrong. But if it's, hey, she kind of looks of age, she's not fighting, maybe this is just a party and we're all having fun. because you're ignorant or you choose to be ignorant. Again, doesn't make it okay.
No.
But there is sort of a spectrum of evil P word or sleazeball.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of thought when I heard that Megyn Kelly was talking about this, because if these awkward, weird conversations trying to figure out like what our moral compass should be pointing towards, if you ask me, who I'm more Puritan than anything, I'm going to say go the Amish direction and keep people's impulses away from making those bad decisions. Buffer people from doing what human primitive people do. And if you want to delve into that, then these are all the repercussions from being in that gray area and sampling from things. You deal with this kind of stuff. So I prefer everybody to be over here on the 100% certain. I'm never in a room with a woman without somebody else being present is hard, but it protects you from all of these conversations over here is the way to go.
Because if anything, this again just backs up my theory of these Epstein files are going to go nowhere. Yep. Even if they exist, there's another defense.
Yeah. Convoluted where, hey, I showed up and they're the ones who picked the people out. It's not my fault that they went.
I didn't even know.
Exactly.
And they weren't saying stop.
Yep. Exactly. They look like they were just an employee.
I didn't know I was.
Masseuse. Yeah, probably went too far, but I can go to a massage parlor that's right up the road and have that lady go too far the same way that those girls went too far.
Yeah. I think we need to use them to protect girls in the future, because I think the sleazeballs are going to get away with it.
Yep. But take that $15 million away from the congressman
paying off that we can see. We know that exists.
100%.
Release that
right now.
Release it.
All right. Have a good one, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.